Hello everyone, this video is about data import. As you know, there are two ways you can import data into the Eventpedia backend, Mobile Content Manager MCM. One is you will use our Excel data template. That's what we're going to go over here. Second way is to use data integration, which we can pull data from some of the registration system or AMS system. Of course, there's always the third way that you can actually manually create the data. But this video is about how you can import data by using the Eventpedia data template. So once you get access to Eventpedia MCM backend, you will see the screen. You will only see your events here, but I'm seeing more events. But from here, you can download the Windows version or the Mac version. So if you click here, and then it's going to download this. So you can see this is the data template. So in the data template, there's an instruction, event info. One thing is very important is in the event info area, you want to make sure your event name is exactly the same spelling as the event name in MCM. And you have the start date and the end date. So make sure the name always matches. And attendee tab is where most of our clients are, need to know. This attendee area is where you are going to load the attendee data. The attendee data will get displayed in the attendee module. And most importantly, you're going to use this data to provide access into the event or to the app. So this is very important how you populate this sheet here. So let's focus on the event sheet here is you have first and last name that's required for every single attendee record. And first and last name, the most important, there are three fields that are very important is the email, username, and password. So if you want to provide any kind of authentication mechanism access to the app or the event, you need to make sure every user has a username. And username need to be unique. So a lot of time client says, hey, we want to use email as the username. That is fine, but you need to make sure you need to put email value in the username field. So this column, username is what the app uses for access into the app and not the email field. So please note there are two separate fields. One is email, which is the regular email address. And if you want email to be the username, the login, you need to repeat the same value in the username column. So this way, we were providing flexibility. Some clients, if they want to use their member ID, they want to use any kind of username to get into the app, they can populate this without impacting email. So email is separate than username. So don't just think, oh, I populate username and say, hey, use email to log in. That is not the case. You need to populate email into the username field. And the password, most clients, if you want to say to get in, you want username and password. And then you will need to have password value. And most clients, they just put a generic password there. So everyone gets the same value. If you want to put each individual to have a separate password, you can do that, but every record represents a user. One thing is very important, you need to understand that every user to the app has one record. So we are using this attendee, even it's to the event, but we are creating an app user and then also an attendee to access that event. So it's very important that you can understand if a same person actually has been to multiple events of your organization, this user actually will have one, we call the app user, and then it could be 5 event attendee record. but the username and password is always the same for the same person. So you will never really want to have the same person to access different event with different username and different password. So the same individual, same person will always have the same username and password. So if someone uses a different email for a different event, we are going to, and then the email address is used as the username, there will be two users created because username represents this person. And username can need to be unique, cannot be duplicated. So if you have people share email addresses and they both need to access the app, there's only one record will be imported because we are going to dedupe based on username. So you don't really want to have two records or multiple records with the same username. It will only one record will get into the data import. So knowing all that, where do you, once you populate that sheet, you go to your event, and on the event dashboard, you see there's a data importer. This is where you import Excel. The data integrator, this is where you are using integration into a third-party system through APIs. So in this case, you're going to data importer, and then you're going to see you will pick your event sheet. You will browse and find that, the ones you populated. And you can say, I only want to import attendee list, which means you might have, data in multiple tabs, but this time you only want to import attendee. And you can also ignore event validation, which we do not recommend, which means if you are checking some data integrity, so you should also check that. Another important flag here is when you import, even you have email address, you have their location, address, if you populate, you can control when you load the data. By default, if an app user go to the attendee list, what can they see? So by default, you can say, well, I want to display the attendee employment info, which is the title, their organization. Do you want to display the phone number? Do you want to display email? Or do you want to display the city, state? So you can control when you load the data, you want to make sure those flags are properly set. So if you say, okay, I don't want other people to see the email address of the attendee, you don't check here, right? You don't want to see phone, but you might want to say, hey, they can see city, state. So if you do those two flags, when you import the attendee list, when you access the attendee list, you will see their names, their employment information, and the city, state. But even you have value in phone and email in the backend, but in the attendee list, the app user will not see. Another thing is very, very important is in the data template. Let's say you load 200 attendees, and then you have, 1 week later you have 250, right? So you have 50 new record. You always use the same template. You're appending the 50 new records into the same tab here. So now you always have this 250 record here. The reason we need to do that is if you have some deletes, so if you have some edits, we will be able to, during the import process, to understand what's new, what's changed. You do not want to say, hey, 2 weeks later, I only put in 50 new ones, because we will not know, do we need to keep the previously imported 200 records? So always use the same sheet when you upload. Another thing you need to pay attention is inside MCM, if a record has been manually updated in the MCM, next time when you do the data import, it will skip that record because we respect any manually change in MCM. We means this record will no longer be impacted or updated through data import. So the recommendation is always you want to use mass import by using the Excel until you get very close to the event. The changes are kind of minor. At that moment, you no longer want to do any data import. You will just manually update directly in MCM. So hopefully this helps. I will recommend you always want to read this one before you start working on the event data, especially you are new to Eventpedia. And if you have any question, you run into any data import issues, please make sure you always attach the Excel template that you have problem with. So this way our team can explore and investigate. Please do not just send us email, hey, I'm importing, I'm getting an error. Please attach the Excel spreadsheet that you use for import. Hopefully this helps. Thank you so much.